So, Josh, we're almost on time. What's wrong?
I think it's because usually what ends up happening, well, let me take this comment up. But usually what ends up happening is the three, four, or five of us are usually on just bullshitting about something, and usually what ends up happening is Chase is usually in the middle of a story right at like 7:29, and then Chase finishes his story, and then Caleb has to comment, and then you comment, and then I think at some point I just flip everybody off, and I just like start the video thing because I realize it's like 7:33 or whatever. But we did not have such issues today as we we're gonna be two manning it. It looks like. I'm Josh. Obviously, if you guys have been watching us, we're on the wrong lead. To On the right hand side, the right half, Mr. Mark Two Turns. I realize that this view cuts off part of your beautiful horse, so we can spread it out a little bit and not take up the whole screen. I was laughing because I open up chat and the first thing I see is John Massey saying he's reading student emails begging for mercy and compassion. He's feeling extra sassy and cruel tonight, and I know we call him Sweet Sassy John Massey, but
So what you're saying is that you better not let me pronounce any hard horse names because it's going to get ugly and I'm going to get a lecture.
oh, here we go. Sour, sassy John Massey. So, Road Warrior chiming in there with a nice thing. Got a couple. Oh, I see one new user here. We got Mr. John Wilbanks over here saying what's up. Hello, John. So we're gonna do something a little different. Unfortunately, it seems that the Thursday night tracks that I normally like to play have run their course. We are getting more into the actual. I mean, we're really getting into the swing of it now, Mark. You know,
Yeah,
once the Derby hits, you get you got the Derby, and then you got Man of War Day the next week, right? And then you're all of a sudden you're thinking Preakness, and then like it's just like every weekend there's just something else, something going on. I mean, and Derby preps have that same kind of vibe, but horses usually aren't in form. You're not seeing the best efforts out of some of these older horses. They usually don't gear up until the summer. And then you get a lot of these, there's a huge focus on 3-year-old racing, which, like, for the Derby is super important. But, I mean, I think you and I can agree that 3-year-old racing usually is just kind of like, okay, like, there's not,
3-year-old racing
not a lot of
doesn't.
form.
Yeah, 3-year-old racing doesn't normally get good until the Travers. I always think of sort of those midsummer. You get those 3-year-olds who've really evolved to. Can this 3-year-old compete versus older? Can they compete versus a 4 or the 5-year-old, that older class? And you really just see the cream of the crop at that point. And John Massey also mentioned, lack of turf. I mean, the winter's hard. You don't have turf, and nobody likes to play the turf down at Gulfstream. And Santa Anita turf is a little rough as well. So, it's nice to get real turf racing back. I mean, Keeneland being back this week has just been absolutely it's absolutely made my spring, because it is, as it does most years, because you're like, oh my God, real turf horses and like real turf racing. And it's been good. But yeah, I think once we get through some of this Derby stuff, we'll get into the real swing of things, get into some real horse racing. We'll have some decent night tracks back. It'll be all good. It'll get better as this goes on.
I'm very upset with the turf race that was carded during the cross country pick 5. I know we're going to get to that, but I looked at that race and I was just really upset. The one at Keeneland.
The Keeneland one, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about. We'll get there. But
I mean, you're going to cover that race because it is.
Yeah, but so we were kind of looking around to see what was going on this weekend, and we didn't really see too much in the way of I don't know, like the I guess Arkansas Derby kind of came up a little light, and the only interesting thing that I kind of saw was this cross country pick 5. So I did want to talk about the cross country pick 5 here, and I figured this will let a couple of our big fans here, John Massey and Road Warrior, strut their stuff here, because I know they're big duct fans, uh, but I know Road Warrior. I don't want to
It
bring
sounds
up.
like yeah, it's now sweet, salty John Massey over the Woodbine enclosure. I would assume was what he's alluding to there, and yeah, it's gonna let's obviously that was some big news this week, and let's see what happens with Woodbine. But Canada's going back down into a mini lockdown. It's going to suck for Shu. Obviously, we're all good friends with Sheldon, and sucks for him getting locked down again. And hopefully, Woodbine racing resumes, sooner rather than later. Because I don't necessarily love the fake dirt racing up there, but I do. Their turf racing is very good, and you actually have now seen certain trainers, Chad Brown being one of them, Christophe Clement, a few of the other ones, who will actually ship fairly well-mount horses up there to go steal stuff and then use it as a prep for something bigger in the States. So it's actually an interesting circuit now to watch for those developmental horses that they're building along. So it's become a real good circuit to play.
Yeah. I mean, I like betting Woodbine. I like betting the synthetic, Turfway, Woodbine, Arlington, but and now Gulfstream's gonna be getting that fake stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, let's take a quick look at this cross country. So it starts off with race 7 at Aqueduct, and this is a allowance race, 1 mile. And we got a pretty short price favorite here in Yankee Division at 8-5. Now, you said that you think that this horse is probably going to be much shorter. You think this horse might even end up odds on.
Yeah, I could see this horse very easily being odds on here. And I think when you look at this kind of a sequence, everybody wants to turn a pick 5 into a pick 4 because it's much cheaper to play. And I think the Yankee Division for me in this sequence is that horse. I had a hard time getting beyond anybody, after Yankee Division. I think this horse absolutely towers over this field, has done nothing wrong, has had a slowly and steadily increasing buyer pattern, has tactical speed, should get loose or be fairly uncontested on the lead. Although I don't think this is a need the lead type, as has passed other horses in the past. 5 for 8 at the distance here. Seems to really appreciate Aqueduct. 6 of 8 in the money there. I think it's hard to really get creative beyond Yankee Division. I know, Josh, you had some opinions that they get beyond it, but I think if you're a small ball player, you're somebody who wants to leverage up a ticket, I think in this pick 5 sequence, for me, Yankee Division is the horse that makes the most sense to leverage around.
Yeah, I mean, Yankee Division looks to be. Sorry, I got to pull this up here, but yeah, Yankee Division looks to be probably your logical leader here. It looks like to be the fastest horse early. Horse has pretty much not. I mean, horse has been in decent form. Has lost. I mean, only lost to Bankit and Mr. Buff. 3 back. Won another optional claimer, and then came back and ran second. Ran second to Mystic Knight here at Aqueduct about 30 days ago. So yeah, I mean, I don't really see anything too wrong with what Yankee Division's done. 8-5 is a hard price to take, but when you look at the rest of this field, I mean, you're going to need some serious improvement from any of these horses, I think, to compete. I think the 3 Malibu Star might. I mean, kind of makes a little sense, but since coming back for his 4-year-old year here, I mean, just hasn't. I mean, hasn't paired up his figure at the end of his 3-year-old's campaign. But the horse I'm actually really interested in is the 2 Texas Swing. Texas Swing, for Todd Pletcher, they tried the Derby trail with this horse. They went to the Tampa Bay Derby. They finished 3rd. by a lot, because I mean King Guillermo just ran everyone off their feet there, and then Sol Volante, sucked up for second. But they tried to run Texas Swing in Saratoga, so that Todd thinks highly of this horse, or did at least. And now they're kind of wheeling this horse back into another allowance. So, I mean, the horse has been working out really well. Gets Junior Alvarado aboard, and I don't know. I like, if any horse were to jump up and get the type of figure that I think that could beat the 8-horse Yankee division here, I think it's going to be Texas Swing. The other Pletcher horse, Arham, I mean, lightly raced. You do get Kendrick aboard, who has been riding lights out at Aqueduct, but at least from the time form figs, I mean, that horse is going to need to improve even more than Texas Swing will in order to win. Assuming you toss Texas Swing's last race in the mud, but yeah, I really think that you go with the 8 here as your A, and then you play the 2 as a B or C type, and you move on.
Yeah, I had it as 8, and I used the 2, the 3, and the 7 all as C types. I know somebody in chat mentioned Arham. That's a horse I was actually a little bit interested in here, just for the sake that, if you read the lines on that last race, Hop the Start, hustled and leveled. Maybe this one didn't get the best opportunity. You're getting that. I mean, I realize that the last one was in January, but you're getting kind of that, real first start of the 4-year-old season. Obviously, lightly raced. Something obviously happened as a 2 and a 3-year-old with this one. But in this kind of race, I think you have to take a huge step forward to seek to beat Yankee Division. And I want that horse that I think has that upside potential. To me, Arham does. And it seems to be that Todd is going to go to Kendrick over other jocks, specifically Aqueduct. In the 2020-2021 year, he is 36% with a $5.30 ROI with Kendrick up. So I think Kendrick probably gets the more whatever Todd is seeing is the more live horse. So, I just realized we're beating an 8-horse field to death here, but I think Arham is one of the ones that I think is interesting. But again, I think you're going to have to do a lot to beat Yankee Division, and I think everybody else is at best a C-type horse that I want, quite a bit underneath.
So John Massey saying that the 1-turn mile hits Yankee Division appropriately. Only other horse he'd consider is the Pletcher First Back, because of the way his barn is firing at Aqueduct. Which Pletcher First Back?
Yeah, there are 2 Pletchers.
They're both first back. The 2 and the 7. Road Warrior saying that he should note that faves are winning about 70% now over the first 4 raving days of April. Aqueduct's kind of had short fields too. I know, was it last week or was it 2 weeks ago that it was just like really bad? But it might have been 2 weeks ago that it was just really bad, like on a Sunday or a Friday or something. Like it was just like all 6-horse fields. But yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what I haven't really looked at much of the rest of the card. I was really only kind of looking at the sequence here. Okay. John Massey's talking about the 2, so John and I see it pretty much the same way here, which makes me feel good. Thank you, John. I won't send an email pleading for you for extra credit.
Depends what kind of extra credit and what your student looks like. Just saying.
Look, I just hope that John Massey is sipping out of his on the wrong lead mug while grading these papers. We're gonna kind of try to go through these in sequence order. So we're gonna go switch over to Keeneland, and of course I close this out, and here we go.
All around the tracks, and
Hey, I told you we were gonna do race order, but I guess I could have.
I was prepared. Better. Just I'm lazy, so
yeah. But we got the Giants Causeway here, 5.5 furlongs on the turf. Once again, we got another short price favorite here in the 1 into Mystic here. Going to be 2-1 here for Brendan Walsh and Arad Ortiz Jr. I know, Mark, you're very excited for me to talk about this race. Most notably, I believe the horse, the 10, Jakarta, who I believe at some point I said, and I quote, if Jakarta doesn't win this race, I'm quitting horse racing forever. And I will tell you, it was definitely one of his last two or her last two races.
You quit for like
Yeah,
a good 15 minutes, Josh. It was
I
a solid
did.
effort.
I did. I think I left chat a couple times. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Uh, to be fair, it was also just after going 5 of 6 for about $103,000 in that pick six. So yeah, I don't think I was in the right mind after taking that one. But yeah, I actually I put Jakarta as a C, but I think that might just be more because of the memes. Um, I actually my top pick in this race. Ooh, nice. Scrolled way too high. Is actually the 3 LEZ for Chris Hartman with Mitchell Merle aboard. I think this horse is going to get out to the lead and just go. I this horse, I mean, you can't, this horse has not done anything wrong his last 4 starts on the dirt, on the turf, has beaten Into Mystic twice in those past 3. Yeah, I'm going to take my chances with this 3 here. It's going to probably be a lone A for me, but I think I'm going to use a lot of horses underneath as B's and C's in this race. I'll probably only play B's, so maybe I might move one of my C's up to a B, but I think the 3 LEZ makes a ton of sense here. On Figs, fits right in there with Into Mystic, who seems to be, kind of the Figs horse, I guess you could say here. But like I said, I just think the 3 is going to set up nicely. It's going to get out to the lead, and I don't think they're going to catch her. The other horses I do have Into Mystic here. I wrote Into Mystic down as a B. I do want to have a little bit of exposure to Into Mystic. I mean, Into Mystic could win this race. The race 2 back probably maybe wins this race. I think, like I said, Into Mystic and LEZ are kind of head and head. And I don't know, maybe just because you get Mitchell Merle aboard instead of a Rad, that people think, oh, take the Rad horse. But I mean, Mitchell knows how to ride, so. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I hope this one takes a little bit more money, because I would love to get 7-2 or better on my 3, but I don't know if we're going to get that. The other horse, I have one more horse as a B, the 6, a bit of both. Now, this horse has won a couple off the turf races, but if you look back at their turf tries, those turf tries also fit in here.
Horse
Now,
is 204 on turf, but it's been rained off a ton the past year. So
yeah, and I mean, I think the most important part is a bit of both has won on the surface, has won at Keeneland going 5.5. So yeah, I'm interested to see what this horse does coming back to Keeneland, and that also happens to be the horse's second best race. But I would say it's probably its best race. So yeah, I really like the 6, a bit of both. I actually think I like the 6 more than the 1 in this spot, because LEZ has beat up on the 1 quite a bit in this race. Obviously, we already talked about Jakarta, which I might just use based off the fact that the horse owes me money. But on the off chance that things get a little stupid here, I could see myself using the 8 Change of Control as a like B or C type. And the reason being is that turf sprint at Sam Houston, I mean, that race actually came back pretty good. Lost to Fast Boat, who's a pretty damn good turf sprinter,
fast
and
boat monster. Yeah.
and Carl Tari came out and won next time out. And if I'm not mistaken, paired up that 116 and ran a 115. Next time out. And if you look at the time form figs on this horse, I think this horse fits in with the rest of these horses, and you're getting a hell of a price on this 8. So I think that this 8 is definitely going to be live in this spot. And I think that if you're a vertical player, this is a horse you're going to have to use underneath. And I think if you're a horizontal player, this is a horse that you're going to have to include as a B or a C. This horse just makes a ton of sense in this spot. But
yeah, I very, very much agree with you here. I think, my top choice in here was the 3 LEZ. And for all the reasons you mentioned, I think the horse gets the lead. I think, Mitch being up probably lends money going other places, but this horse is 3 for 6 on turf, 3 for 6 at the distance, perfect at Keeneland. And if I get 7-2, that's a, kind of back up the truck kind of thing, man. I mean, you put a large win bet at that kind of price. And, I think that horse wins substantially more than those odds imply. And you might get the connections giving you a bit more of a price, because there's no Arad here. There's no big name trainer or any of that kind of thing. The other 2 horses that I really wanted in here were the 1 and the 10. I think those are the 3 horses that on figs, jump out the most. Jakarta, I always have sort of an asterisk kind of next to, because Jakarta loves to just stop, and Jakarta is not going to get loose on the lead here. And I think Jakarta probably is the need the lead type. So, Sayez is up. He's as hot as can be. He's 45% on the meet, but I just don't see a situation where Jakarta is fast enough to clear in this field. And I don't think I don't think she has ever won a race where she wasn't loose. So I like her. She fits on figures, but on run style and in, historical stuff, she doesn't really make a lot of sense here. But yeah, I think 1 and the 3 are my tops. And then I agree with your 6 and your 8 as well. And then I don't know how you work Jakarta in, because eventually Jakarta's going to win another race and hurt all of us. But
well, I think you brought up a really good point. The one other thing that you have to say about Jakarta is the fact that you get Luis Saez aboard, who I know these stats aren't up to date, but as of the printing of this PP, was winning at 45% on the meet. And on the turf is probably even higher. Luis Saez on a speed horse on the turf is a must include. I mean, I don't know. I forgot what horse it was, either today or yesterday, where like I was just like, "There's no way Saez walks a dog," and then like you yelled at me, and you're like, "How did you not use that horse?" And
that was the most Josh horse ever at a price. And I'm sitting there looking at it going, Josh, the horse has loose speed on paper, and Saez is up, who you love, and he's going to be able to walk the dog. And all the passive Kentucky jocks are going to let him get away with murder on the end. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, that was just it was something else, man. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I mean, maybe that moves up to the 10 for me a little bit. You see, like, I guess we can talk ticket construction a little bit here. Like we'll go close up here. Like my problem here, specifically with this race and with ticket construction, and maybe Mark, maybe you have some better insight for this, but when I was looking at the sequence, like this seemed like a very, very obvious spread race, right? This seemed like this is going to be the place where people spread. And so like, is this a place where you zig while other people zag? Like, do you kind of try and stay narrow here? Because, like, let's say a horse like, who is that 6 horse, right? A bit of both, right? 8-1. Let's say, okay, because of the connections and everything, this horse gets bet down to 6-1 or something like that, right? 5-1. I mean, in horizontals, this horse is probably playing, no matter what price he goes off at, probably playing like 4-1 or less. Just because I feel like everyone is going to try and spread in this race. So I don't know. Like, I guess like the thinking is that like, yeah, this does feel like a spread race. So do you spread, or do you, I mean, like how do you leverage that? Like what does that go into your mind where you're thinking, hey, I think everyone else is going to do this, so I'm going to try something different, or kind of how do you think about that?
There's 2 sides to your head. I mean, obviously, to hit the wager, you have to have all the winners. So there's some time at the end of the day where you sit around and you go, I need to pick winners. And if I think that I need to be very deep to find that winner, then I need to be really deep. That's sort of how I've always approached it. I've tried not to overthink that. But I do agree with you here. I think this is the kind of race where an ABC structure really helps you out, because you can be very narrow. Like, I'm going to be most aggressive to the 1 and the 3. I want a little piece of the other horses, but I want most of the 1 and 3. So an ABC type structure helps me get there, where I can leverage up Animistic and LEZ and make sure that they hit all my combinations in other races. Whereas I think you're saying this is a spready race, and I agree with you. Of this sequence, I think the Oakland Park ninth, the Oakland Park Mile is probably the most spready race on here, but this is the second most spready race in the weekend or in the sequence, I would think. I think, and again, it's hard. Long-term ROI. If you're playing these every week, well, then maybe you get just aggressive here and you take your losses where you take your losses. I think if you're somebody that's spot playing these and is thinking this is a neat sequence, maybe you get a little more aggressive here.
John Massey in the chat saying, "I take my stand from Miguel Mena to screw everyone with the inside close." And
he's already screwed me twice on the Keeneland meet, and we're no longer on speaking terms because he's a moron. So yeah, I agreed. I
was laughing because somebody, I'm in this like Twitter group, and somebody had posted. Was it the second to last race? There was like a Kenny McPeak horse that won on the turf, I think, and he's like, "Oh, well, there's the illogical Kenny McPeak horse for the week that's going to win a race at Keeneland."
That horse was very, very, very hard to have. That horse was, I think, went off at like 17-1 and was overbet at 17-1.
Yeah.
That horse was very hard to come up with. I had a price in there who had a bit of a rough trip, and I got my thrills, but got nosed out for third. So,
yep.
John Wilbanks is agreeing with you on that 8. Yeah, and I agree with you as well. I think if you want that sort of first tier of outsiders, change of control makes a lot of sense there.
Yep. And then John Massey asking, why is Giants Causeway a turf sprint? Yeah, Giants Causeway was a turf router, right?
Yeah. I don't understand why it is, but there's a number of these races that make absolutely no sense. I know there's one of them that is named after a horse that is a turf race that never ran on turf. I can't remember what that one is. Is it John Henry or something like that? But there's a few of these that.
I was gonna say the American Pharaoh, but that is a dirt race. Never mind. I just got American Pharaoh as a turf sire. I just got that.
There's a couple of these where they just sort of said, "Oh, that's a famous horse. Let's just stick a race to it," without thinking it through at all. Yeah, I do agree, and I think that's come up every single year that we've taken a look at this race.
Yeah. Let's move on to Aqueduct's 8th race, the Danger's Hour. It's going to be a mile on the turf. What's weather looking like in New York this weekend?
Weather is looking real good on Saturday. It's going to be like 70, sunny, nice. I don't think you have any chance of any nastiness. So spring has officially sprung.
Sorry, Zoomer. So Zoomer's in here as an MTO. I think he's the only one. So we're going to have 8 horses in here. Your morning line favorite is going to be Catholic Boys' favorite turf horse, Analyze It, the 7. I mean, I think you and I, how do I put it? I think we were kind of close, but I think
we were very close.
I think you have a little bit more faith in Analyze It than I do. I mean, I guess the horse is fine. I honestly, when he showed up at that Red Bank last year, I thought he was retired. So I didn't even know that the horse was still training. But came back off that, almost 2-year layoff and, won pretty easy at 2-5. And then was 2-1 at the Shadwell mile and just didn't do any running. And, I don't know. The figs tell me that this horse should win in a walk, but the horse does not like to win. So I kind of have I have a quandary there with that horse. I think you and I though both see this the other horse the horse that I probably like the most in this race, which is the 2 Rinaldi. I mean, you kind of see this as a 2-horse race between the 2 and the 7. I mean, I really like this 2. I think the 2 had some nice form last year at Saratoga, and kind of tailed off a little bit at the end of the year. I mean, form wise, but figure wise, the horse was just right there. And I mean, this horse is going to get out to the lead, and I don't know if there's really anybody that's going to run with this horse. This horse might get loose, and it, I mean, that could be it. Just Trevor taking this wire to wire.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think there's a huge chance of Trevor going wire to wire here. Rinaldi, I think that 9-2 is kind of a joke. I think you'll get maybe half that. You might get 5-2. I think Rinaldi and the 7 will be much closer in price. I had a hard time really putting anybody in the winner's circle beyond the 2 or the 7. I know Josh had a bit of a taste for Delaware in here, but Delaware hasn't won since coming to the United States. I think it becomes one of those chads that takes money. A horse that, if Caleb was on tonight, he would be shitting all over this horse because it's one of those, chads that comes to the United States, takes all the money and just never wins. And that's really what's happened with Delaware. A horse that just can't quite seem to put it all together for Chad ever since coming to the States. And he tends to be, I think on paper, he at least tends to be, we think of Chad Brown taking these Euros and bringing them to the States and tuning them up and making them, into monsters. And this is one that seemed like it was going to be one of those and just has never really shown up. So I don't necessarily know if, especially after you need to make a lot of excuses for that Tampa race being as bad as it was. I don't see it here. So yeah, I mean, I really think it's a 2-horse race. I think it comes down to the 2 or the 7, and I think everybody else is sort of an outsider that is really trying to look in.
Yeah, I think, and like talking about structure, I think maybe this is where I kind of, maybe press the 2 and press that the 3 the race before, and kind of try and make my money there. Analyze it kind of as a B. I am also going to use Delaware as a B, and the reason why I want to use Delaware as a B is I felt like if you liked the 2, that you kind of needed to like the 8, but I just thought the 8's best races come at a mile. The Artie Schiller and the King Edward, those 2 figs, at least on time form, are at least in the realm of what these other horses run. Now, it seems like Analyze It kind of, I don't know if he just like, I don't know. I don't know if that Shadwell mile was just too much for him, and he is just more of a, kind of like that G3, listed stakes type horse. But, he is getting a ton of class relief here, so he could just run off the screen. But, yeah, I think I'm gonna use mostly the 2, and then I'm gonna use the 2 Chads as B types.
No, I completely agree with you there. I think that, I think if I get, it's always hard with these because morning lines always move. But if I'm getting morning line, I'm a much bigger fan of the 2, just because that morning line is pretty gaudy considering.
So we didn't talk about the 4 at all, Decorated Invader. Now I know Decorated Invader was last year probably the best 3-year-old turf horse up until June or July, and then just kind of like, I don't know if he fell off a cliff or just like ran, just maybe going in against older. Like, I don't know what happened.
My issue with him is the fact of, and again, I'm a big time form fig user on turf. He's just not even close to being as fast as any of the other horses are in this race. If you go back his last 6 or 7 races, he's run pretty consistently. He just needs to find a softer field than probably what he's facing today to be a real win candidate. I just don't see him as being fast enough. I love Junior on the turf. I think Junior is a massively underrated turf jock, but I just don't see a world in which Decorated Invader in here is fast enough to actually win this.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Decorated Invader is going to take a bunch of money. I mean,
the horse is going to make a ton of money. He's going to give you better prices than other horses that probably have a chance of winning.
Yeah, I mean, did his best racing against 3-year-olds. Well, and I mean, 2-year-olds, but has only really done good racing against his own age. And as soon as he gets in with older horses, he team tons of. He just hasn't run as well. So,
Now,
So yeah,
again, he is newly turned 4-year-old. So if you're making the case that he maybe takes that step forward off the break and into his 4-year-old season, sure. But when I look at 3-year-olds, I want 3-year-olds that improve throughout the 3-year-old season. And he ran what was it, six races where he basically was within 2 points on Buyer Speed Figs and within 3 or 4 points on Briz Figs. So he's the stereotypical horse that went up to a peak and then just flatlined and never improved. Could he take a step forward in his 4-year-old season for a start? Sure. Is it likely? I just don't think so.
and we got the powdered wig himself, Jay, showing up and says he likes the 3. Price Talk gets a good pace setup and has done nothing wrong. What do you think about this 3?
I would be much more interested on the 3 than on Decorated Invader, even though I'm getting paid 5 times as much or something to play him. The 3 has improved every single start. He's obviously that improving type horse. A horse didn't win his last out, but first times versus Overnight Stakes Company. Every right here to take another step forward, gets a cutback, a little bit of cutback, which I don't really love it, but don't really hate it given his pedigree. Ken and Sarah Ramsey Homebred that's owned by Klarovich now, a horse that makes a lot of sense, doesn't, and again, like he said, hasn't really done a lot wrong. Yeah, sure. I have no problem with that at 8-1.
I didn't realize Klarovich had horses with people other than Chad.
Yeah, he's always had a few with other people.
Interesting. When you said Klarovich, I was like, wait, like what?
Yeah, Klarovich is sort of interesting. I don't think Seth really cares who he keeps horses with. I think he's more of a put him with the right trainer.
Yeah, so owned by Klarovich and trained by the former Charlie Brown assistant. Sneaky.
Yes, he is.
I didn't realize that Jorge Abreu was Chad's Chad assistant.
He was a Chad assistant for a while. Yeah, it wasn't for very long, maybe a year or something. But because Chad isn't that old, and they're not that much different in age. But yep,
Chad's not that old, and he's got great Twitter game.
Yeah, his Twitter game is stellar. It's just wonderful.
Oh crap! You said stellar. Take a drink.
We've turned this into a drinking game now.
No, but I mean, I guess you could turn anything into a drinking game, right?
Okay.
All right. So yeah, that does it for the Aqueduct races. So let's move on to race 9 here at Keeneland, the Lexington, and this was an interesting race for me. Let me pull up my notes here on this side. And this is tough. I've full disclosure, I've started using Timeform more and more. And when I use Timeform, what I like using Timeform for, what I like about Timeform is that I can go ahead and I can kind of put the horses I like. I can mark them real quick, and I can get to charts and replays and stuff easy if I want to see something. So so that's nice. I kind of, like I said, I've been saying this forever. I wish Brisnet would come out with a formulator type product because I would use it. But yeah, I mean, Timeform is cheap enough where if I'm going to play multiple tracks, I'll pay the $6 or whatever it is for the day pass and just put all my notes in there. That way, I just have them at the ready when I'm making my bets and putting my tickets together. But yeah, this was interesting because Timeform's got this marked as a hot pace, and when you start kind of going through this race, one. Look, Noble Reflections only ones. Swiftsure 2 and 1s. Bezos set off the pace in all 1s. It's My House 1s. I mean, like, it's incredible, and you just have all of this pace in this race, and so I kind of started throwing the pace out, just tossing it out. Just I don't even care, and I ended up with 4 horses. And one of them is the favorite, the 7 Proxy. I actually have liked this horse as a possible Derby candidate. I think that this horse has run pretty damn well in Louisiana. Second in the Lecomte, second in the Risen Star, ran 4th in the Louisiana Derby. And unfortunately, I needed him or Midnight Bourbon to win that race for a nice little pick 4. I'm not bitter at all. Um, but you know, I don't think the 7 has really done anything wrong. The 7 on Figs looks to be pretty tough here. 7 has been working out well. So if Proxy wins, like, okay, so be it. Like I like this horse. I think this horse has got a good shot. Um, but there are there's two horses at a pretty decent price and one horse at a kind of a long price that I do like in this race. Um, so the one speed horse that I do want would be the 2 Swiftsure here, with Irad Ortiz and Steve Asmussen. Uh, this horse should get the lead. I think this is the fastest horse here. It's a sprinter stretching out. So I think that this horse is going to be the pace in this race. I do think that there are a lot of need to lead types here that you can kind of immediately throw out. But I think that this 2 is going to get the lead. And 5-1 in the morning line. And I think that you'll probably see all of that because I have to imagine that Bezos is going to take some money just on name recognition. And Proxy is just going to be that clear of a favorite in this spot. So I think you're going to get a good price on this too. The other horse I did have written down is the 6, Hockey Dad. I know is coming from Turfway, coming off the synth and going back onto dirt. But that synth fig from the Jeff Ruby Stakes wins this race pretty easily. And this horse I don't think this horse is going to want to be right on the front. Like, yeah, in sprinting has kind of been kind of close, but if you look at that Jeff Ruby Stakes, that horse, was sitting, 4.5, 3.5 lengths off. And I think that this horse is going to get a nice trip in this race because I think there's going to be a lot of pace. And I think, if you look at his last race, did have a hot pace and ran his best fig. So I think that you're going to get another hot pace. And if he puts up that same fig that he did last time out, I think this horse wins this race. And 8-1, yeah, I'll take that all day on this horse. And my kind of B type in this place is going to be the Todd Pletcher horse, the 5, Unbridled Honor. On figs, this horse is way too slow. However, I just think pace scenario, this horse is going to get the perfect setup. It's going to be fast up front, and if the 2 can't hold on, I don't think the 3 can win. I don't think the 1 can win. I think they're all going to kind of just blow each other up, and this is going to set up for a horse like the 5 or the 6. And hey, Todd Pletcher double-digit odds, like he won at what 50-1, 60, whatever he won last time out. Hey, why not 10-1?
Yeah, it was a capper. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that this horse is gonna. I think this horse is gonna like this pace setup, and so we'll see what Unbridled Honor can do here at 10-1.
Yeah, I fell on 2 of your 4, and I'm only 2 deep in here, and those are your 2 and your 7. I think Proxy makes. Let me step back here for a second. When you look at this race, there are a lot of horses in here who've shown a lot of promise at like 6 furlongs and are now stretching out to try a more classic distance. So you sort of have to, separate the weeds from the chaff and have an understanding that there are a lot of horses here that may not take to this longer distance, but that does promote that sort of speedier beginning. With Proxy, you're getting a horse that's at least somewhat proven at the distance. You can handle a little bit more of this. I realize it's not a classic distance, but it's more than 6 furlongs. So Proxy is super interesting. Again, like Josh said, I think he's super talented. And he looks pretty solid in here. And the other horse I really liked was the 2 Swiftsure, a horse that ton of pace, will be very forwardly placed, on the lead or just off it, and is one of the other horses that makes a lot of sense on time form. Those are really the 2 that I wanted the most of. I think I had a hard time digging deep and trying to find that those other horses or those other prices that really jumped up. This was sort of a race that I wanted to be skinny. And, I think this is another race where people are going to be prone to spreading just because they're going to go, oh, well, look at all the upside on all these horses. And I want to be a little more aggressive and just kind of target the 2 most likely winners, who I think are the 2 and the 7.
Yep. So Jay is currently getting drunk, playing a drinking game. Apparently, every time we say the word "like," he's going to drink. And
he's going to be really drunk.
He's probably dead.
He's dead, more than likely dead.
But he is, he sees a pretty similar tie at me. 7 proxy over the 2 and the 5. John Massey saying the 10 is going to hit the board, just so Dallas Stewart gets some bullshit in here to finish second in the Derby. I looked at the 10. I don't know. The horse didn't really do much in the Louisiana Derby. The horse has been working well. I don't know. It does get size aboard, but I don't know if this horse tries to go forward.
Size flew in to ride this horse for the Louisiana Derby, so you had to assume that this one was well meant. What happened last out, I never saw any excuse coming back from that. And this one has really kind of screamed as in every other type its whole career. So maybe, but you have to excuse 2 races and kind of squint and hope there's upside. Oh man, it's just there's a lot of ifs there at 6-1, and I think I would need probably double that.
His 2 best races were with Joe Talamo, and now he gets Luis Saez. So that's clearly a downgrade.
Clearly, and he had Luis Saez the last time. That would be the major kicker here.
Crypto saying on the wrong lead, sponsored by Timeform US. Hey, we're showing Briz. It's just my notes are on time.
If they do want to sponsor us, we're all about it.
Yeah, we'll talk with Craig and David and get on that. John Massey says that he doesn't think he doesn't think the 5 is the same horse without the Lasix. That has kind of been tricky to kind of monitor how these horses are doing without Lasix. There was another thing I liked about the 6. The 6 spiked that nice fig without the Lasix. I don't know. What do you think, Mark? You think there's merit to that?
I think there is merit to it with certain horses. I don't necessarily know if Unbridled Honor is one of those horses, because when I look at both Beyer and on Timeform, there's not a lot of difference between the last 2. So you had the 2 back late race with Lasix and the 1 back without. I don't see a lot of difference there. I don't necessarily think that Lasix is the differentiator here. I understand it in certain situations, but this isn't one where I'm going to get super excited. And obviously the horse isn't getting Lasix, but I don't love the horse. And I know, and I haven't looked at the stats recently, but Julian up for Todd Pletcher was like grave death as far as stats were concerned. He was like 3% or something with him. So I don't think I think Julian's getting a ride just because it's Julian. I don't think he's getting a ride here because this one's actually live.
Who was the horse that Julian was on that just completely fucked me? Like in the past week?
Do you want a list? There's multiples. It's every day. That's what he does. He just screws with people.
There was a horse like in the past week where I was like, there's no shot, and just fucking blew up all my tickets. I think it had to have been, I think it might have been one of the races, one of the days where the pick 5s overlapped, because I think it killed all my tickets. It was just nuts. Oh, fucking Julian. But I really like Proxy. I actually liked Proxy in the Derby. I wanted to put a future wager on him, but the Vegas books or Circa took everything down after Life is Good and scratched, and I just didn't have the heart to take a much shorter price on Proxy. But I think Proxy with prices with Hockey Dad and Unbridled Honor, and probably use Swiftsure as an A as well in that spot. So, all right. Let's move on to the last race of the sequence here, the cross country. Got the Oakland Mile.
By far and away the roughest.
You think so?
Yeah, I think this race is very, very, very deep. I don't want to say it's a good field because there's no monster in here. There's no horse that you go, oh, that's going to be your Breeders' Cup Mile champion. Maybe somebody in here ends up being your Breeders' Cup Mile champion. But this race really felt like a spready type race to me. And I know a lot of people are all over the By My Standards train. I completely understand it. But if you look at figures, he's not that much faster than a lot of horses in this race. And I think everybody wants to single him here. Yeah, he probably wins this. Josh is making that face, but I know our good friend writer Dave said he's an ice cold single in here. And, maybe he wins this race, I don't know, 35 or 40% of the time, but I don't think he's a singleable type in here. I just don't
I
see it.
don't even think he's the most likely winner in this race.
I know a lot of people who are very, very sharp handicappers who say that by my standards is like an ice cold lock in this race.
I don't even think he's the most likely winner in this race. And I know Caleb. If I remember correctly, I know Caleb couldn't be here tonight due to a family emergency. But yeah, Caleb and I see this exactly the same way. Uh, and I think Rushy. I think Rushy's the horse to beat in this race. And I mean, I get like by my standards makes a ton of sense, but when I saw the prices, when I saw that by my standards was 5-2 and Rushy was 3-1, I was like, that probably should flip. I think by my standards needs more distance, doesn't he? Is he
I
a
don't know.
miler?
I mean, maybe he's a miler. I don't know. And I don't know if it was the wise guys I'm looking at were saying, oh, they're firing him back at a mile, which we like. I mean, he's 2 for 4 at the distance, so obviously he does handle a mile. He won the Pat Day mile. Obviously he's a fairly talented horse, and he's getting Rosario, who has been phenomenal in the past month or so. I think for me, my A's ended up being the 4, the 5, and the 6. I like Rushy. I like Blackberry Wine, and I like by my standards. And I think they're all equal chances of being winners in here. But beyond that, I also needed to go fairly deep. I thought somebody like Wells Bayou. Wells Bayou should get stupid loose in here, and I'm surprised you're not all over Wells Bayou in this race. But
Wells Bayou is my lone B in this race.
okay, I would say Wells Bayou is my lone B. I think Wells Bayou gets all sorts of stupid loose in this race. Now, does he necessarily want this for, as a distance? I don't know. Maybe he wants to go a little further than this, and a real miler runs him down late. But, I think Wells Bayou makes a lot of sense in here. And there's also some other, pricier horses. Somebody like, I think, the other Cox, the Sound, the 9, or somebody like Pioneer Spirit, the 7. And then the reason I use Pioneer Spirit is because of, I've been burnt once or twice before here, just being the fact of Michael Maker first off the claim going into a graded stakes. That game has happened before. And I also think somebody like the Sound makes a fair bit of sense in here. If you can toss that last race, the horse seems to want this mile distance. That 3-back race is an absolutely freakishly good fig. And and if that horse can run back to its 2-back fig, it's a player here. 3-back fig wins this for fun. So I think the Sound is super interesting here as well.
Yeah, what's really interesting to me is the Blackberry Wine and the Sound both have very, very humongous figures. I just have an issue with the fact that I think they all want the lead. I mean, look, like I know, Mark, you're not as big on like the Kieran points and the run styles,
Yeah.
but look at this. These are all E types with 6s and 8s. Like, I wanted Wells Bayou as kind of the speed of the speed in this spot. That's how Timeform kind of sees it. I kind of see Wells Bayou as getting the lead as well. But if Wells Bayou doesn't get the lead, he's sure as heck going to try to go as fast as possible. And that just compromises like every other horse in this race. I think that compromises Blackberry Wine, compromises Home Base, compromises Pioneer Spirit, compromises the Sound, Wells Bayou himself. And I just think it ends up setting up for the 4 and the 6. I really have a hard time going past it. I mean, Gunnet was a very expensive horse, and that's probably the best thing I can say about it. But
Yeah,
I don't know, kind of the horse just like doesn't want to win. And like, yeah, the figs are good, but like, when was the last time the horse won? I don't even remember. Like, I don't even 2018.
The 2019 an allowance at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I have a hard time getting past the too short prices in Rushy and by my standards. of the two, I actually prefer Rushy. But I think that he's more of a true miler. I think by my standards, although his breeding suggests that he doesn't want to run more than like 7 furlongs, by my standards, has seemed to have done better at those classic distances, and mile and an eighth, mile and a quarter. So um, let's see if anyone's got we got some talk in the chat here. John Massey says he hates Blackberry Wine for just letting Max Field jog.
I don't fault that, but I would think that's more jock intent. I can't really hate the horse on that. It gets the wrong size up, but they've seemed to stick with him. So yeah, yeah. And I think what Cesar Alvarez there is saying is what I've heard a lot of, that, by my standards, gets the setup. He seems to enjoy the mile distance, and he seems to sort of be the wise guy horse. I don't see this race as being that clear cut, but if you want to take a shot there at 5-2, I'm not going to fault you for it.
Yep. Shout out to Caesar and the Friday night Zoom crew. See him on there. Jay saying that Wells gets loose here. Yeah. I think he's the fastest horse early here,
Yeah.
but I think it's instead of speed or loose, he's more speed of the speed. But yeah, like I kind of agree with you, Jay. I mean, I think Jay and I see this race exactly the same way. Rushing by my standards, I think the sets up for I kind of agree. Of the speed horses, I do want to use Wells Bayou defensively, just in case some kind of shenanigans happens, and like not all these horses go, or Wells Bayou secretly learned how to rate. I don't know.
We've seen this a lot on paper in the past, and I think we've talked about this a few times, where you have these papers that scream a ton of speed, and then all the jocks rate, and then only one horse ends up loose in the lead. And it happens fairly often. And it's, jocks read the form just like we read the form, and they're all looking around saying, oh, geez, I'm not as fast as this other horse. I'm on a low speed, but I guess I have to rate because I can't get the lead that I think I need. So I have to figure out how to make my horse pass horses. And you get in these stupid situations where everybody's reading the form, and then therefore everybody's making decisions that don't make a lot of sense from a pace perspective.
I mean, some people would argue that Joel Rosario does not read the form.
I would. Do we know that he can read?
I mean, you do realize this is the man who rated Latruska.
He has rated a number of horses and made owners exceedingly, amazingly pissed.
That being said, John Massey says this is going to come to jockeys. He trusts Joel to slingshot in the short stretch to the mile run, and yeah, I much prefer Joel to sit off the pace with Rushy, than to be on a speed horse. John Massey says track will probably carry the rail speed a long way, likely souped up conveyor belts. It did look pretty souped up today. It looked like we did have a bit of it looked like a bit of a speed bias. I mean, that horse in the last race won by like 10 lengths, it looked like, and that horse was not that much the best. I think he just the conveyor belt just carried him that hard. So that is a bit of my concern, and kind of why I do want to use a horse like Wells Bayou. I mean, I guess like if I were to use another beat, it would probably be Blackberry Wine. But I don't know if I really want to keep on, adding horses to the fire when I don't know. I could almost be convinced to try and single Rushy in this spot, but I mean, by my standards, it's just got so much class. I have a hard time doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I think you have to take into consideration is that, Chase and I were talking earlier, and I think, they're obviously prepping the track for the Woo Pig Derby. So I think there's a good chance that you see somebody, speed being very good, rail speed being very good, as John Massey said. So, yeah, it makes these sort of days hard to play, but if you're playing for, they have the track souped, I think Wells Bayou becomes a little more interesting.
John Massey trusting Cabrera at Oaklawn a lot more than Gabe Saez. People were pretty.
I agree.
Was it the BC Classic or the Clark that was a worse ride by Saez?
I don't remember.
Although, wait, no, the Classic. Who was it? Tom's d'Etat that just like That
Tom's
was
a
the horse.
tossed a clunker.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't necessarily know if that is by my standards fault for how he ran. I think you can fault him in the Clark.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it for the pick five sequence here. But there were a couple of races I wanted to touch on because we do have a lot of stakes races this weekend, and that's kind of the cross country pick five that I wanted to get through. Um, there were two races that I thought we needed to talk to about at Oak Lawn. The first being the Count Fleet. This has got one of my favorite horses in No Parole in here. Got one of your and Chase's favorite horses in Whitmore. Uh, has got one of everyone's most hated horses in CZ Rocket in this race. And yeah, this is a really interesting race. Um, how did you see this one, Mark? I'm actually curious to see how you kind of saw this one.
Yeah, I this race I played the I'll throw my wallet at this race kind of mentality. And I ended up being three A's here, and I really want no one outside those three A's. And to Josh's, I'm sure this is gonna upset Josh. No Parole is not one of those three. I think Whitmore makes a ton of sense. We obviously know he loves Oak Lawn. He fits on both, Bayer and on time form figs. And, this is sort of his race. I think he's only won this, five times now? This will be six or something absurd like that, some sort of stupid stat. But, he obviously loves this race. And, I think CC Rocket beat him last out. Whit probably needed a bit of a tune-up. He's an old guy, so he got to go ripping around the track, and we'll see if he steps it up for his next race, or for this race, I should say. The other horse I thought was, let's go to CZ Rocket first. I think CZ Rocket's the other one that's coming out of that hot springs. Makes a ton of sense. A horse that kind of was blah on the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He and Whitmore have had this good little rivalry going on the last two, where they've alternated wins, been pretty interesting, and made this division pretty fun to watch. And I think he's pretty logical. And the other horse that I was a little interested in here was the 5 Empire of Gold. He ran absolutely huge given his odds in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and showed up that he's probably fits in with some of this field. I think he was always one of those horses that a lot of people said, he's that Remy Lone Star Houston type horse, which I don't want to bash those circuits, but you don't necessarily think of those being top tier G1 talent. And he kind of showed he belongs. Time form figs, he fits on Bayer speed figs, and he's a horse that I think is tactical enough that he can be placed a little bit anywhere. And honestly, he Briz has both of his last two races being time form, has both of his last two races really being almost better than anybody else in this field. So I thought he was really, really interesting. Beyond that, I think there's a big fall off to everyone else. So how did you see it?
I used two horses in this race.
Whitmore and CZ?
No, I used the 5 Empire of Gold. I kind of agree with you. Empire of Gold has not really done much wrong, and with the way the track played today, I'm gonna play speed horses in the sprint. So I'm gonna play the 5, and then I am gonna play the 1 No Parole. I'm gonna go back to the No Parole.
You're going to toss CZ and Whitmore. This is
Yep,
the Josh logic. You realize that you're going to be live in something going into this, and you're going to do a Josh, and then you're going to get knocked out of everything.
Yeah, I'm going to be live to the 2 speed horses, and
it's going to kill you.
And it's going to kill me because Whitmore and CZ Rocket are going to win, and it's going to pay like 10 grand still. And all I need to do is use a chalk. Yeah,
use the chalk. Yes. Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. But I don't know why. I guess they were just whatever. They were like, hey, this is a Louisiana bred stakes race. Let's just put No Parole on the grass. But No Parole is clearly a sprinter on the dirt. Has all the talent in the world, I think, to win a race like this. But it's just, is he going to show up? Tends to has folded up a little bit, going 7 furlongs a couple times, is cutting back to 6. I'm interested to see how No Pro runs in here. I had him as my lone A, and I had Empire Gold as a B. I'll probably use them both as A types. Of the short price horses here, I'm more interested in Whitmore than I am CZ Rocket. I still can't believe CZ Rocket won that. What was the race that they were in last time? That stakes race, the Hot Springs.
Hot Springs, yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe that that Whitmore lost that Hot Springs. That was just like, I don't know. I mean, CZ Rocket came out of nowhere. I mean, came from way the hell out of it to win that one. But
I think with Whitmore, he's 8 now. Probably needed a tune-up race, and he just needs a setup, and he's going to get it in here. So I think depending on the price I can get on Whitmore, I might make a stupid Whitmore bet, because I do love me some Whitmore. It should be a really, really, really fun race to sit back and watch.
Oh, Sixer said he just arrived, and you gave him 3 demerits already, huh?
Yeah, I figured 3 was the appropriate number of demerits for being like an hour late.
Yeah, Caesar said the great points on the 5. Yeah, I thought the 5 fits. I mean, and the 5 is definitely going to get first run on No Parole. So, this could be a bit of an upset in you here.
Yeah, I mean, my only concern is that you are leaning on a 3% trainer. Terry Eoff is not a high percentage trainer. Does not have a high percentage barn. This is sort of his one big horse. But he's campaigned the horse wonderfully. He's done a great job of managing this horse. So, you do have to just sort of understand this is off from, I mean, it's not a long layoff. It's November to April. They obviously turned the horse out for the winter. Drinking a 3 demerits. Nice. They obviously turned they turned Empire of Gold out to the winter, but are out for the winter, and you getting him back into form. You hope that he's been tuned up enough and that he's ready to go here, and this isn't sort of get the rust off race and prepping for something in the future.
Yeah. And that's kind of what, I mean, John Massey kind of thinks that Whitmore, that was kind of a tune-up for him last out, and CZ Rocket got cover.
Agreed.
Used it to just get up. So, man.
Yeah, I agree with John Massey. My issue's always been just that Whitmore's 8. At some point, he's got to eventually start tailing off, right? Like, love the horse, but they don't run at that level forever. And I mean, you're talking a G1 winner at 8. That's a pretty stupid thing to say, to even think about, to being that good for that long. So, yeah, and it also says a lot about Ron Moquett, quite honestly.
Yep. Yeah, I think he's campaigning the horse beautifully. So,
yeah, you can't fault him at all. So,
all right. So
this should take 30 seconds,
dude. What happened? Don't you remember? Wasn't it 2 years ago that they were running two?
They ran two divisions of this race. It was loaded. It was amazing. It was great. And then we get this, whatever this is.
Yeah. I mean, it's disappointing. This is kind of, John Massey has mentioned this point numerous times in Discord, how much he hates these stakes days, because you get shit like this. And like, it sucks. Like, I mean, it makes sense why you had such a, I guess that's why you had such a bigger field at Santa Anita for the Derby, as opposed to years past, because Bob's big horses in this race, Concert Tour. He is the even money morning line favorite in here. And, it's just, I have a hard time getting around Concert Tour here. Even just looking at the time form figs here, I mean, any of these horses are going to have to jump up pretty big to catch up to him. Now, Cairo River was a little interesting to me as, hey, maybe he's going to just go super fast early and just like kind of steal it on the front. But I mean, what always happens with these Baffert horses, right? If you try to outrun them, is they just grind you into the dirt and then they just take you over. So I don't know. I don't think Kyle Rivers really that good. Um, and so I guess I'm not really worried about Cotto River in this spot. The only thing, the only other horse besides Concert Tour who I think can actually win this race is Hosier, and the only reason why is because of that stupid Derby math stuff that I know are because what was it, Roadster and um, who was the other? Who was the big Baffert horse that was that Game Winner? Game Winner and
Wait,
Roadster.
what year are we talking about? Medina Spirit?
No, remember Game Winner and Roadster, where like Roadster won
No,
that race
yeah,
where
one of them got yeah, the
and
whole
got
yeah.
into the Derby where like Game Winner didn't even like run a lick all of a sudden. Yeah. So I don't know if that kind of stuff's going to happen here, right? Is Concert Tour just going to go out and jog, and Hosier's going to go all out to try and get up for third. Although I think all Hosier needs is second to get in, anyways. So maybe it doesn't matter, but I mean, I'm Concert Tour is an A. You can use Hosier as a C just in case some bullshit Derby stuff comes up, but I don't know. I have a hard time looking past the two Bob horses in this race.
Yeah, I think for me, Concert Tour, he can run his maiden race, and he should win this by about 10. He really kind of towers over this field, and I had a hard time finding a situation where I wanted to get much beyond him. I think Concert Tour wins this 75% of the time. He basically needs to show up with a clunker, or Joel needs to do something stupid, which it's Joel, so he might do something stupid. But the only other horses I wanted are ones you've already mentioned, Cotto River and Hosier. I don't want to get too creative here. I don't want to get too cute. I just think Concert Tour wins this the vast majority of the time, and I think he's a lone A for me. I have the other two as both being Bs, just on this is an up and coming division, and could there be dumb Derby math in play, or the other Baffert, or whatever the game is.
Yeah, and then so John Massey thinks that the twice delayed Rebel hurt the box of the Archie Derby. Yeah, that makes sense.
That would make sense. Yep, it would.
And John Massey saying, "Oh yeah, because Brad Cox is such an honest guy."
Well, no, Brad Cox he's the hot Cox, so he's obviously quite the honest guy.
Yep, and then Jason Fieldside says an all Concert Tour is good. I mean he's Baffert's a horse at this point. Although I do prefer Medina Spirit in the Derby. I think we've talked about that a little bit last week.
I think Medina was pretty exposed last out.
Yeah, we'll see. Although that the horse that beat him ran the best fig so far that's left
Yep.
in who was it? Rock Your World, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cesar Alvarez asking who our favorite weekend long shot play is. I did put down Keeneland Race 8, that 8 horse that we talked about a little bit earlier. Was that Change of Control? I thought Change of Control is very, very live. As a long shot, it's 15-1.
I have about 30 more races to cap for this weekend, so it's a little hard this early out. Ping me on Discord tomorrow, and I'll have a better feel for who I like on come Saturday.
Yeah. So what are you focusing on this weekend? I think I'll probably will put in a ticket for this cross country. It does look a little interesting, and I'll probably get. I believe, using your words, I'll probably get too cute and be way too narrow, and just like have all the right horses, but just use them incorrectly. But what are you focusing on this weekend?
Probably I'll take a stab at this cross country. I don't tend to play at Oakland a ton because I'm terrible there, but this is their a big weekend for them, so it's sort of interesting. I'll probably see if I might hop into one of the feature tournaments and try to take one of those down. Been a while since I've been able to nail one of those, but I was honestly thinking this will be a little bit of a light weekend, and then get ready for some Derby prep, which seems to last about a month.
Yeah, that's coming up quick.
It's coming up quick, man. You're less than a month out. You're 3 weeks out, and yeah, it. I don't know. Honestly, I think I don't know, personal opinion and all, but I think the Derby is basically the most overhyped horse racing day of the year. But I don't love the Derby, but I do love the undercards. So um, it's always a hard thing.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at some of these other stakes races at Keeneland because I do love Kentucky racing. So I'll probably play some stuff. But man, I mean, the Ben Ali got 5 horses.
Yeah.
And it's
I
just
don't
like,
I don't necessarily love Kentucky racing, but I do love Keeneland racing. Keeneland is just a track that I've always really enjoyed. I think it's very classy racing, and I also think Keeneland's nice for me being a big Saratoga player. And you see a lot of those horses getting their preps in down at Keeneland that are going to ship to Saratoga, so I sort of have a better understanding of the fields are. I haven't really run through the Keeneland Saturday. I'll probably be dinking around with tomorrow, but yeah, Keeneland's always good stuff. Always good stuff on the big days. But yeah,
yeah,
you're right. The Ben Ali did come up a little. Eh.
yeah, Jenny Wiley is 6 horses. But I'll tell you, Jenny Wiley, Juliet Foxtrot, I think might be lone speed in there. And so if Tyler can can get out there to the lead and just have her relax in the front, I think she's going to be tough to catch.
Yeah,
And
and I would say I do have a soft spot for Silver Dust, and she's in the Ben Ali, and I think it looks like there's a lot of pace signed up there. So if she can sit that trip that she's, sit that little bit of a pocket trip, she should be pretty logical in that race.
he, well, or it,
It's sorry,
Geld,
he. I guess I should say he.
Gelding. So
He.
I don't know. Yeah, John Massey saying Oaks Day better than Derby Day.
It normally is, yeah. Oaks Day is normally the better day. Yep, agreed.
Keeneland to Belmont Day to Saratoga.
Yeah, I said one to not to plug anything, but I think I know we're going to be targeting one of the pick sixes is try to get a group ticket together on through Discord. So it'll be Eva Bob Dole and Ryder Dave and myself putting that together. And I don't know if they're doing the 2-day again pick six or if it will be the all Derby pick six, but we'll be targeting that, and those are always really fun sequences to chase.
Yep. Jay says the only thing about the Arkansas Derby is that Cattle River might just send hard instead of rating off Concert Tour. I mean, I think
I could see it. Yeah,
I think Cattle River is going to get to the lead. I just think Concert Tour is going to grind them down. But
yeah, I think Concert Tour's only way that he can win is to send and try to make Concert Tour uncomfortable. And if he does that, I don't know if he's good enough, but you can at least get into the you got to pass me game.
Yeah, and it's always important. I mean, you gotta watch the races too. I mean, if the place is a conveyor belt, then I mean, obviously you're going to have to use Caddo River, but because I think that John Massey says if Caddo sends, Hosier wins. Road Warriors said hopefully Belmont Day is nice weather. Has been the last 9 years. Should be interesting to be there with a small crowd. Have they said that are they selling tickets for Belmont?
Yeah, Naira has said that I don't know if they're necessarily selling tickets. They're going to allow standing room on the infield, which they haven't done in a few years because it would be outdoor. But I think they can only do like 20% capacity or something. So,
yeah, hopefully that all gets rectified. I know.
Yeah, New York is a little rough right now. They're opening everything else except horse racing. So,
yeah, I know.
Such a great guy.
I know Road Warrior is very fired up about all that. So there's Sixer says he thinks Cox said that he's sending. He read it this week somewhere. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I think that's the only way Caddo River wins is if he gets out to a nice lead and he gets carried to victory from that nice dry track that they've had the past couple of weeks. So, so I'm sure what's going to end up happening is they're not going to put any water on the track up until that race, and then they're just going to fucking dump a shit ton of water on there and water it down. For Bobby. Although I don't know, like I said, I don't think he needs it. I think Concert Tour will be up there. Oh, yep. Andy's saying that he hopes that by Saratoga time they can get open to 30 or 50%. I hope so too. I have a hard time. Like I want to get out there this year again, but I also don't want to start booking stuff and then not be able to get tickets or what have you. So, yeah, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait another couple weeks, and hopefully we hear something by then.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get a little better of a feel for what New York racing's actually going to be like. Obviously, I'm optimistic that I'll be able to get grandstand seats and get my box again, but we'll see.
Yep. And Jay says New York is rough. He'll drink to that. So Jay is officially drunk.
Yeah, we've gotten drunk, Jay, quite drunk. Yes, we've done a good job with that.
And he says he wants to just grab a coffee and watch some morning workouts. We didn't do that at all last time I was up there. I know we were
You're
talking
not
about.
much of a morning person, though.
Well, I am
so
not much of a morning person, but I know we were talking about doing
we were talking about it.
the
What we really should
breakfast at the breakfast.
Yeah,
at the
do
track, right?
breakfast. Yeah, do brunch. If you bring the wife out this summer, it'll be good. We'll get out there, and it's a fun morning. You get out there. It's not that expensive of a brunch. And they always have a race caller who, as the horses are going by, they'll actually give you names. So you'll get like, oh, here comes Rushing Fall doing her work, and cool stuff like that, where you're like, oh, I know those names. So it's a lot of fun, good times, decent brunch, gorgeous scenery. It's nice. So.
Yeah, Road War says good show indeed, and screwed New York State in the gaming condition. Yeah, dude, it's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough. Dunkin' Donuts inside the track, you can go in for free.
Yeah, but who's buying Dunkin' when you can get brunch? I mean, come on now.
Dude, America runs on Dunkin', baby. Dunkin' Donuts. If you're watching, I can PO Box 35.
You do have to pay to get in, but they refund you on the way out. So it's free by the time you do the loop.
There's also a Shake Shack. There's a Shake Shack in Saratoga.
The Shake Shack's doesn't open until like 1 though, or noon or something. And Oklahoma's a lot of fun in the mornings. The problem with, Oklahoma's great if you bring like a picnic basket and you want to sit out there and watch horses. It's awesome. The only thing that sucks about Oklahoma is you can't. There's no caller and there's nothing formal. So if you go someplace local in town, grab a pickup lunch or pick up breakfast and go sit out there and watch horses. It's awesome. But it's a little more. The main track is a little more formal or a little more. I don't know, whatever. It's cool.
Keeneland weekend tickets sold out the first day. Yeah, I saw that. I was actually trying to do the lottery, but then I don't know, something happened. I forgot to sign up.
The walk to Hattie's, that's not a short walk, man. That's like a half mile. That's a little rough. A half, 3/4 of a mile. That's a bit of a rough walk for a walk. Because I like to sit over on the Mary Lou side. So if you sit on the Mary Lou side of Oklahoma and the new building, then you got to walk the whole length of the inner, cut across, and then you're all the way down to Caroline, it's a bit of a walk.
So my question is, does Hattie's do a biscuit? They do
Yes, they do.
Biscuit? They do.
They do a chicken biscuit in the mornings.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I took part in Hattie's not once but twice while we were at Saratoga. So.
Yeah, and Hattie's, but the problem with Hattie's is that I think Andy's saying they're in Phyla, and I think they closed the Phyla location because that building got remodeled, and it's now something else. So I think they actually moved it up to north of town. Yeah, they do a shrimp and grits as well, but I think to get the breakfast, you have to go to the one that's up in Wilton. Yeah. Sure. If you want to go to Oklahoma in the mornings, you can drive in the gate that's on the 87 side. So if you get off the Route 87, which is the Northway, the main highway that goes through Saratoga, you get off that at the Saratoga Springs exit. You go up the first red light, take a right. You go up about 100 yards and you take a left. And there you pull into the parking lot, which is parking during the day. But as you drive up the hill, it goes into the barns that are the across the street barns at Saratoga. You can park anywhere up in there. You can either park in the main area under a tree if you want to get a good spot, or you can keep going up the hill and Oklahoma will be on your right as you're driving up the hill, kind of through the barns. There's parking all down the side of Oklahoma. So it will be the south side of the Oklahoma track. You can just pull and park your car wherever you want to. And there's a gigantic, it looks like a pagoda. It's like a big, like outdoor seating area with grandstands and everything. And that's where all Bruno and all the other works guys stand out in the mornings and get all their times from. So you can just sit there and you can bring a breakfast and chill out and watch the horses train on Oklahoma if you want to. But you can also walk across the street and go to the main track and watch them work out there. So, and if they have the turf open, you can see them doing turf works on the main, where Oklahoma's dirt only. So,
Andy's saying
Are
Hattie's
they
is
are they
never
back open
rental
on
for you.
40? Andy? Are they back open on 45 Fila? Because I know they closed it down, renovated it. I didn't know if they ever got the place open because I know they were talking about moving upstairs. So
Weren't you just in Saratoga today?
I was, yeah, but I didn't drive by Hattie's.
You don't check the Hatties every time you drive to
I
Saratoga?
literally go to Sushi Thai, which is across the street, like on a once a month. I'm there, and I just never look.
Dude, you just gotta drive by. Just take a look. Take a peek.
But the old wooden Hattie's sign, and like Hattie's used to be like one of those restaurants you walked into and it was the most stereotypical hole in the wall where there was like 10 seats and it was absolutely blow your mind amazing.
Favorite thing
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the home
we're
track is
right
there.
over it. It's Henning. Henning is the road that's off there. I can never remember that. It's the one where Bosie's is on, and I can never remember the name of it. The name of it's Henning. Yeah.
Andy's favorite part is interacting with the angry Naira workers.
Yeah, I mean, some of those, it's fun. The same people every year, and that's not the best job ever. You're out parking lot attendant at, you know, coordinating a bunch of drunks parking their cars. So it's always a little interesting.
Whoa, I was not parking the car. I was just simply riding along.
Yeah, and complaining about me going around corners too fast.
Dude, you'd like to drive pretty aggressively.
See, Gary was chilling in the back seat, just like, oh, this is nothing. And then you're like,
And there I was, dude,
You're
holding
like
on for
grabbing on
dear
everything.
life. I was like, what is going on? Why am I sinking into my chair like this? What is this? Yeah, that's pretty bad. Oh, all right. Well, that's going to do it for us. We are on the wrong lead. You can catch us on Twitter at wrong_lead. Mark is at 2_turns. I am at Cherry Drank. Our boy Chase should be live tomorrow. I'm going to guess that it's still 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m.
Still,
Eastern.
yeah, I'm sure.
But check out their Twitter. They go live on Twitter and I think on Facebook. So you can check those two places out and see, when they go live. He's going to be on with Blackjack Fletcher and Summer Rae from WWE. Danielle Montanet, or I forgot what her real name is, but
yeah, I don't remember what her name is.
but I know it's Danielle. But yeah, they have fun. They do a lot of beginner stuff. If you have someone who doesn't know a damn thing about racing, it's a great place to go because Danielle does not know anything about racing, and she asks good questions if you think about it in the fact that like she knows nothing. So like
Yeah.
it's because like a lot of times like and I don't know if you've ever like taught anybody something from scratch, but like they all of a sudden start asking questions that like were just something that's so like ingrained in you
Yeah.
that you just like don't even think about, and then you got to be like, well, and then I forgot what did
She was asking a bunch of questions about like, well, could these horses run on the Kentucky Derby type questions? And so then they had to explain to her conditions because she was looking at like 3-year-old non-runners of 2 lifetime races or something, like lower end aqueduct races. And they were having to explain to her why these wouldn't be Kentucky Derby prepped horses. And it was very interesting to like, because it's things that we just in our head go, oh, well, this horse isn't on that path. Obviously, look at the speed figs, look at the conditions the company's been keeping, but you go, oh, someone who doesn't know that just doesn't get that. And it's like things that we naturally skip, but she's asking the, dumb questions that
it was really
probably
funny
need to be
though.
asked.
It was really funny the other day because I had mentioned something about inexpensive MPHs or something, and she just like she read the entire thing, and then Chase is like sitting there having to try to explain like, okay, well this is kind of an inside joke, but like what he's really talking about is this, and like, but
Yeah, we've gotten some one-liners on a fairly large, fairly whatever their the number of viewers that they get. We've gotten some of our in-house one-liners on there more than once.
yeah. And Chase wears our shirt, so
And
at least go check out the shirt. And you can buy one of those shirts at onthewronglead.com. So, but yeah, if you guys see Caleb or Guy on the Ground or Mr. BD Horse Player on Twitter or in Discord, shout them out. Hope they are doing well. I know everyone's real busy with stuff past couple weeks, so we'll get the band back together for Derby for sure. But until then, we will see you guys later. Thank you.